Okay, hello everyone. Good day wherever you are from. My name is Marvin. I dabble in a lot of things, but currently I'm a researcher in AI. Um, then I research into things around innovation and also cybersecurity. So that's my forte. Worked in a lot of like different places, worked in the public sector, done some private sector work, worked in SAP, so worked in legacy systems as a developer. Um, that's tempting. I might have to go back there. Then worked as a data science lead trainer in across projects in Africa, engineering lead, and now I'm a researcher. So yeah, yeah. So welcome. I'll share my screen now, and let's see whether this works nicely. Okay. Do let me know. Okay, I think you can see my screen, so I can see this here. Um, so let me give you some background to this conversation, right? So as I said, one of my main topics I research on is on innovation, right? And especially the intersection between AI and innovation. But in this talk, I will not be talking about AI at all. So I will actually be talking about the first principles of Scrum. And what does this mean? This means that what makes Scrum so useful to develop innovative ideas from, right? And as you may be aware, like innovation is the backbone of any economy per se. No company, no firm can successfully survive in this digital age without innovating, right? And okay, there's some noise in the chat, so please mute all the chat, right? Thank you. So yeah, so no firm can successfully survive without innovating these digital times, right? So anyway, so that's why one of the lightweight frameworks we all know is about it's Scrum, and I will talk about how Scrum aligns with certain first principles that fuels the innovation process. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So that's like a brief on this talk. I'll go to the next slide. Yeah, cool. So the agenda here, I'll just like everyone on the call might know about Scrum, might not know about Scrum. So I'll just give like a brief glimpse into the world of Scrum, right? Then we'll look at the a principle called empiricism that talks about um one of the reasons why Scrum is so in like fuels innovation is because of its focus on empiricism, that is real life data. Then we'll look at team-based innovations, right? So the other way Scrum is like one of the other ways Scrum is a very innovative framework, or that fuels innovation is the team-based innovation nature, which deals with the diversity of people on a team working in resonance to solve a problem, and how that is like one of the main foundations of Scrum, and how that is a way that innovation is fueled through Scrum, the Scrum practice. So it's going to be, I don't think I'll spend like too much time on this. Yeah, so now let's go into this. So for anyone here who doesn't know what Scrum is, like I think everyone here will know what Scrum is, right? The Scrum is a lightweight framework, not surprisingly, right? So it's a lightweight framework that helps people, teams, and organizations generate value through adaptive solutions for complex problems. So the key word here is adaptive solutions, right? So unlike in the, let's say, in the waterfall And I think everyone here knows waterfall, so I don't have to go through this. Just a minute. Yeah. Yeah, cool. So everyone here knows what waterfall is. I don't have to go through that, right? So the key here is the Scrum framework enables us to adapt quickly to changes or respond to changes. Now, for a lot of us here, let's look at the chat. Okay, thank you. So for a lot of us here, responding to change might seem like the usual thing, right? That's the right thing to do, right? But a lot of times in organizations, there's a lot of resistance to change. So imagine you work in an organization where the same thing has been done over 10, 15 years, and you go there and you have like you say, let's listen to what people are saying, let's listen to the customers and adapt our processes to what the customer wants. And that is difficult to do in certain large organizations because there's generally an inertia to change. So one of the ways where one of the ways Scrum is really cool is that it helps companies, medium sized, small, large companies adapt to change, right? So, and we'll look at how this adaptation works. So that's the first thing. Now, another thing Scrum does is that it breaks down like the complex problems into manageable sprints. And this idea of a sprint or an iteration is important to Scrum. So these are the big tenets of Scrum, right? So yeah, manageable sprints, allowing teams to focus and adapt and improve. So one thing about Scrum is as well as that this idea of a sprint or an iteration or cadence-based approach. I'm using a lot of synonyms here. So for those who don't know, a sprint is maybe a 1 or 2 week period where a team focuses on a minute portion of the problem they're trying to solve, dedicates their entire energies to solving that particular small chunk of the problem, then goes through some team events, right? And everyone here might know these team events, right? So I don't want to repeat them. The cool thing here is that firstly, Scrum breaks things down, right? So you're no longer dealing with a large solution, you're dealing with smaller chunks. And these smaller chunks are important because now when you have, like the world is generally very complex, right? So you're building like a new innovative application for a company, you're building an API, you're building something, your product, something, even hardware, you're building a new component. Now, these are huge complex problems. You do not have, you do not control or you cannot control everything with regard to that problem, right? So what you can do is that you can break these complex problems up into smaller chunks and tackle the small chunks in each sprint, right? And the cool thing is that because you're tackling only a little bit of this problem in a sprint, you can you allow the team to one focus on the small problem, to ship faster, and we look at what some of you will call team velocity. I call it frequency of delivery, same thing, and also get feedback and improve. So then here you have a big problem, you break down into smaller chunks, and these smaller chunks are solved in sprints or iterations, and ship quickly, you gain feedback, you adapt and improve. Now, as I say in the next point, that in a Scrum team, the regular rhythm of sprints. So that's the idea of a cadence, right? So you do things regularly. So it's like a beat going cadence, right? So you're walking to the same tune, right? Just like a music band plays to a cadence, right? you play to a particular tempo and you go at it again and again and again. So you are repeating in sync, right? So just like in a Scrum team, like the regular rhythm of sprints, reviews and retrospectives, right? So these are some of the team events that happen in Scrum. Team planning, the reviews and retrospectives happening in each sprint. Then it creates a kind of resonance that helps focus the energies of and efforts of people on a team. And this is extremely important because during the sprint, when you are working in a team, the entire energies and focus of the team is on solving that minute portion of the problem. So you're no longer looking at the huge task you have. No, you're looking at that minute portion of the task that need to be solved, right? So they are reducing the the complexity of the problem for them to focus their energies and efforts to solve. And this is also an important point in the Scrum process, right? So, and when you do your Safe course in Scrum, Safe Scrum Master course, I'm sure some of you have done that already. You hear about the team backlog, the user story, and the user story being that small problem that the team takes to solve in that particular sprint, right? Then here you have a Scrum Master who on an Agile team is like the keeper of the team velocity. Here, team velocity means, and most of you should know this, the frequency of delivery, right? How quickly you're able to deliver a feature or solve the problem. And you have a product owner also in the Scrum team who is responsible for maximizing the value of the product. And these two roles are very, very important, right? So I look at the Scrum the team or the Scrum team, which has a Scrum Master, like the developers in the team and a product owner. And in the next slide, I explain this this dynamism between the product owner and the Scrum Master and how interactions between the product owner and the Scrum Master is pivotal to making sure Scrum works. I remember we are not just doing this because we are implementing Scrum, we are doing this because we want to maximize value, innovate, and change the fortunes of our organization. So when you look at the structure of a Scrum team, you see the Scrum Master and the product owner, I see them as complementary roles. This means that there has to be a very good interaction between the Scrum Master, the product owner, and the entire team, because the frequency of delivery, i.e., the Scrum Master is the one responsible for one reducing or removing impediments, making sure there's flow right, looking at the flow metrics. AR primarily, if you want to improve the frequency of delivery of a feature, that is the role of the Scrum Master, right? So how quickly, how well the team can deliver a feature or a team, the Scrum Master looks at that. However, the product owner, um, not only in SAFe, but in the Scrum practice, is primarily responsible for making sure that the features that are being developed are the right features to maximize the value of the feature of the product being developed. So, for instance, I say here in my slide that firstly, the frequency of delivery is dependent on the Scrum Master. However, the market success of the product is the responsibility of the product owner. So you might be a superstar Scrum Master, but you need a superstar product owner to make this work. That's why the interactions in a Scrum team is extremely important to see how these people on the team interact daily with each other. And these interactions are fostered by the team events, right? That we talked about, and should continue. So you cannot on a team where you have the Scrum Master not interacting with the product owner and the product owner not interacting with the dev team, there's a question mark. So I say in the next point that the interaction between the frequency of delivery and market, like so that's the Scrum Master, right? And the market value of the features developed, that's the product owner's domain, are some of the two main metrics that you must measure to highlight the interaction between these two important roles on the Scrum team. So, i.e., you need a superstar product owner in addition to a superstar Scrum Master. To enable one, the product owner is essential to ensure the market success of the product, right? And the Scrum Master is responsible for ensuring that the team delivers and the frequency of delivery is maximized. So you have two very key roles on this team. And maybe some of you might know this already, but it's always good to rehash these points, right? So you can understand that these roles are extremely pivotal. So, and I say in my last point there, Scrum itself as a lightweight framework is a platform for interaction between these people. So, um, the team events you see in Scrum, the ceremonies, as so called, it's a platform to ensure that there's interaction between these people. So you cannot just do what you want to do, right? You have to constantly interact. And I'll show you how these interactions lead to innovation. So these interactions are super critical, and I hope like like knowing that the personal market success, the Scrum Master delivery, team frequency or team velocity is an important metric to look at. These two work together in concert with the dev team to ensure this happens. Now that we have like a quick glimpse into Scrum, and this is like a very quick glimpse, and I hope like these two slides give you a solid understanding of like the Scrum framework and how this looks like. I'll go to the next slide where I look at um empiricism in Scrum. So what is empiricism? Now, a lot of you have heard about data-driven decision making, i.e., when you do your say Scrum Master, there's a lot of talk about anti-patterns. You've heard we've heard things thrown about around anti-patterns, right? Things you should not do, right? Things that inhibit innovation or inhibit the realization of the benefits of Scrum. One thing that's I think it's not pretty clear to a lot of people is that Scrum is an empirically based framework. It comes from the school of thought of empiricism, right? That's why in say if you hear things around the WSGIF and HIPPO, one is the way to go, the other is the anti-pattern, right? If you don't know WSGIF or HIPPO, tell me out in the chat, I'll tell you about it. But then I'm sure everyone here knows about WSGIF or HIPPO. Now, the cool thing here is that because Scrum comes from the principle of empiricism, you do not make decisions in a Scrum team based on hunches and feelings. I repeat myself, you do not make decisions on a Scrum team based on hunches and feelings. Remember, the Scrum Master has a unique role, the product owner also has a unique role. In fact, the principle of empiricism states that like knowledge comes from experience and observation. Like this is so these two words are very important. They come from experience and observation. So when a team is working at something, you might not know everything. In fact, because the problems we solve are so complex, you cannot know all the constraints the problem you're solving. So knowledge, because you don't know everything, what do? Sometimes you have to observe people use the feature you're developing to gain insight from that, right? So you have to observe. And other times you have to look at the experience people have. And I'll explain this. So because Scrum teams um, embrace a product development, acknowledging that they do not have complete knowledge and predictability, and it's impossible. Like you don't know everything at the outset. Scrum teams must, and I put it here, make sure that firstly, this idea of an MVP, i.e., creating uh, I think Save calls it two. Save gives it two names, right? There's like minimum marketable features, right? MMF, and MVP, the minimum viable product. The idea of that is that you want to ship that as fast as possible out there to gain knowledge that comes from experience of the users and observe how this is being done in reality. Again, because at the outset of your development, you do not know all the constraints or all the knowledge about what you're developing, right? And because Scrum is an empirically based framework, what do? When you ship out your MVP, what do? When you take this Save PM course, it tells you about certain tools to use to gain knowledge from your customers, right? So many tools. I don't have to go through that. It said gives you some qualitative and other quantitative techniques to use, and safe emphasizes the fact that sometimes observation through some of the things like Wizard of Oz and stuff like that. This qualitative metric, just like the observation side, is something even more important than looking at just um, experience from quantitative frameworks or like questionnaires and stuff like that. But that's not my focus here. But my focus here is that because Scrum is empirically based, this you need data. That's why you ship your MVP quickly. That's why you have your MMF quickly, because you don't know everything at the outset. And you need this data to come in so you can refine and improve. Extremely important. Extremely important. So for instance, and that's why I put it that Scrum teams inspect and adapt based on real world data and observations by using feedback loops, like I've explained, and the iterative development approach. What does this mean? This means that because Scrum is empirically based, again, empiricism means that it is data driven. What does this mean? This means that when you ship your MVP out, when you ship something out, you put in you like save calls that you not save, but I think what call you instrument your product to pick data that you can use as feedback loops for your development. And this iterative development cycle where you can inspect. So the inspect means that you can look at what is out there, get the data, and adapt quickly, iteratively, because you don't know everything at the outset. It's super critical. And that is like the continuous experimentation and adaptation we are talking about here. So one of the first principles of Scrum is that it is empirically driven. Is it is founded on the principle of empiricism. And this is just like any researcher knows, like you do your research, you always look for what's the data, what's the data saying. You can have a hunch, you can be inductive or deductive, but Scrum is a blend of the two. You go from where you are to where you are not, right? So, or sometimes you go from where you are not, you feel something, then you come and say from the small to the big, but you need your MVP approach. And that's one of the main reasons why Scrum is so an adaptive framework and it helps you innovate because you're looking at real, you're looking at like data coming in. And here I think I call it, I think in the next slide I have a name for that. So you're looking at data coming in real time. Yeah, you're looking at data coming in real time, observing it, inspecting that data, and adapting based on real-time feedback from your clients. Extremely important. This same thinking is, if any of you have read on open innovation, right? If any of you have read on open innovation and these innovation concepts, um, the idea is always that the team or your organization is just a small bound. The firms of your organization and the bounds of your organization are just too small. And there's so much information and data out there that you need to tap into that. So all these things are data-driven, empirically driven frameworks, right? So open innovation is one of them, and Scrum has its roots and fundamentals in um, empiricism, right? So then I say here that the Scrum team, that Scrum relies on ongoing or continuous observation and response to real-time feedback to innovate. So and most of you will know here that one of the main tenets of innovation is responding to this real-time feedback. That's one of the tenets of innovation. Remember, your product is only as good as what the market deems it as. So whatever you do not tell me how great your product is. It's the market that gives that feedback. So getting that real-time feedback and adapting quickly is the strong tenets of innovation. And you can do that because Scrum it comes from the principle of empiricism, right? So when you hear these things, when you hear the phrase data-driven decision making, yeah, one of the main things about data-driven decision making is exactly this: that you have real-time feedback, you inspect it, you adapt to the feedback you get, then you develop it, then you take it out there. You get more feedback, you inspect it, you adapt it, and you go ahead. So that's the idea around inspection adapt. This idea around when you read, I'll recommend a book to you. When you read it, it talks about observe, arrange, decide, act, the order loop, stuff like that. So, and I now the second principle, and I need to corrupt this out quickly, is around team-based innovation. So, in the first principle, I talked about the Scrum framework itself. I talked about the principle of empiricism. Then the second one I want to talk about here, team-based innovations with Scrum, and this is important as well. So one of the key tenets of Scrum is also that it's based on transparency, inspection, adaptation. I was talking about the inspection and adaptation way. Thus, the ability to decide the next step. And one of the, I'll repeat myself. So when you get feedback from the market, the question is, what is the next step? Right? What should I do next? You have so many things you want to do. What should I do next? And Scrum is also based on or helps us, or one of the magic tenets of Scrum is exactly the next best step. Like, what should I develop next? What's the next best thing to do for my organization? So, like I say here, like the world is complex, right? And like there are trillions of options available, trillions and trillions of options available. However, many of those options will lead you to the wrong path. So there's only a small subset of options that will lead to dramatic success, right? Like if it was like a lot, like everyone will be successful, right? So there are only a limited or a finite number of options that you have that will lead to success. Now the question is, how do I determine whether my next um, will be will lead to success? So that's one thing. One thing Scrum helps us do, helps us determine the next best step. And how does it do this, right? So I see here the key to understand the product market customers The key is to understand the product, the market, the customers, and make decisions under uncertainty. That's one of the keys, right? I say here that this is the whole deal about prioritization. So when you take your safe PMPO or PM class, you hear Mr. Cosina or Carlos talk about the wastage framework. The key to Scrum, the next key to Scrum is prioritization, the next best step, right? So the question is, like, how does Scrum help us prioritize so that we can meet that small subset of um, steps that will lead us to dramatic success? So that's the question. Now, prioritization in Scrum is so essential because, again, there are millions of options available, but it's only a small subset of these options that will lead to success. So, how do I determine that? So, prioritization in Scrum underscores the value of the next best step. This is mainly about making strategic decisions that drive the product forward to deliver the maximum value. And unfortunately, sometimes we leave this to only the product owner to do. And what I theorize is that, and what at least I've read widely and I've seen is that you do not leave this for only the product owner, only the product management team to do. And I'll show you an example because prioritization is a super critical feature of Scrum that must not be left to only a few people to do. Sorry. Yeah. So I state here that to innovate quickly as a team, every person on the team must understand the system or product being developed and collectively then select the next best step. So the prioritization in Scrum is not left to only a few people to do. Again, because you have a cross-functional team, you should obviously work as a team to even prioritize. So when you take your say PM or PO course, or you take your any of your product management courses, the voting for WSJF is not just left to only a few people or only a product management team. It's the hope that everyone on the team understands that we need to collectively decide on the next best step, then prioritize our backlogs based on the next best step, making sure that our like our impediments are prioritized well so that we can let the team work on the most important things to deliver maximally for the organization. And here I say, I give an example, right? So there are a couple of examples given, and I'll recommend a book to you. A couple of examples given about in Google and Amazon AR, where one of the things, even though like COVID came and stuff like that, right? But like when you look at companies like Tesla and the rest, face-to-face interactions are super critical in teams. And like working remotely is fine, but like innovation suffers when this happens. Like there's nothing that beats face-to-face interaction. Why? Because the culture of trust, accountability, psychological safety that working together brings cannot be replicated easily online, unfortunately. Even though there are ways to do that, but it does not feel the same. Like when you go for a concert and like I'm a UFC fan, right? And so I watch a lot of UFC. I like UFC. I watch like I know it's bloody and stuff like that. That's what I like. The president of UFC is called Dana White. He always says something I think is super true. He says, "What you see on TV is dumbed down to what you get in person at a UFC event. So watching your favorite team on TV, even though you are engaged, the experience is not the same as going to the stadium and watching your favorite team play. And that's my only analogy to explain why in-person interactions outweigh, in my opinion, remote interactions. Then, so I give an example here. So, and this is an example from Google, Amazon, Tesla, and stuff like that. I don't have to like go through the companies. So, like face-to-face interactions, every team member must fully understand the system well. Very important. Like POs or PMs must have sufficient technical understanding of the product. In the same way, developers and Scrum Masters must have sufficient market understanding of the features. Again, the team make the decisions, not just particular individuals. Then I say here that impediments are placed on the top of the team backlog, and as soon as someone is free, the person picks it up, picks the story up, and works on it. So an example is given in a company where they do not just employ, they don't employ, like when they employ you as a full backend or a UI UX or a front-end developer, you should be able to do backend development as well. Why? Because they want everyone on the team to understand the full implementation and architecture of the product, so that the team themselves can work at it. So you don't say because A, B, and C are working on a particular thing, we have to wait for them to finish. Another example, and this is where I must end. Yeah, I can give so many examples. I think I have to keep quiet. I think my time is fast spent. So yeah, um, the team must make the decision together, not just certain individuals on the team. And this is where the spark or innovation happens, because when the team fully understands the product being developed from the technical side and also from the market side, the team themselves can then bring up ideas to improve the product, right? So the team themselves can do this. So they can bring up ideas, they can work together, they can interact. And again, this interaction between team members is what Scrum does. It creates a platform of interaction between different people to develop the best products for the market. So I will end by um, giving this recommendation. I will recommend this book to everyone. This is by Jeff Sutherland. He's a co-creator. Was part of the initial people who developed the Scrum and framework and who worked on the Agile Manifesto. And if you've heard of this, if you haven't, please look it up. It's called First Principles in Scrum. And if you're a Scrum Master, you're a product person, this is important to know. And yeah, thank you for listening. This was and this is what I want to talk about. I didn't talk about any AI stuff because I just wanted to talk about the the first principles of Scrum, right? And show you, like, just remind you that this is like the backbone of why Scrum is an important lightweight framework. So thank you so much.